Have you ever said yes to a favor you didn't really want to do? Or change your mind just because someone made you feel guilty? This happens because our decisions aren't always guided by logic. Emotions like fear, anxiety, or shame can have a huge impact, pushing us to act impulsively, even against our own interest. People who understand these dynamics can use them to their advantage, manipulating your choices without you even realizing it. In this video, I've put together the 10 most effective manipulation techniques people use to influence your decisions, so you can learn to recognize them before it's too late. Technique number 1, guilt tripping. Guilt tripping is a manipulation tactic that plays on one of the most powerful feelings we have, guilt. People who use it know that feeling guilty can make us act in ways we normally wouldn't, just to avoid being seen as bad. Imagine a friend saying to you, "If you were really a good friend, you'd come with me to that event." You didn't actually want to go, but the mere suggestion that your friendship is being questioned pushes you to say yes, just to avoid seeming distant. Technique 2, foot in the door. Imagine a friend says to you, "Can you help me go over a couple of lines in a text?" You agree without a problem. It's a quick favor. But shortly after, the same friend says, "While you're at it, could you check the whole 20-page document?" At that point, it's much harder to say no because you've already started helping, and backing out feels inconsistent. This technique relies precisely on this principle. It's based on the idea that once we say yes to a small request, it becomes much harder to say no to a bigger one, because in our minds, it feels like the next step is just a small extension of what we already agreed to. Technique 3. Discrediting. Some people do this to hurt your credibility and boost their own position. Usually, the manipulator attacks the other person's character, reputation, or ideas. Imagine you're in a work meeting presenting your project idea, and a colleague cuts in and says to the group, "Don't listen to Michael. Last time, he completely messed up the project." Here, the colleague isn't actually addressing the idea itself, but is trying to undermine your credibility by bringing up a past mistake. In situations like this, the best thing to do is not to react emotionally, even if your anger level is through the roof, but to bring the focus back to the facts, for example, by calmly explaining the idea you're presenting. Technique 4, social comparison. Have you ever felt judged just because someone compared you to others? That's exactly how social comparison works. Someone using this technique wants to make you feel inferior so they can control your decisions. Imagine you're in college and a classmate says, "Did you see that William scored a 1400 on the test? I just don't get how you couldn't." Even if you studied, that comment puts pressure on you and makes you start doubting your abilities. Technique 5, good cop, bad cop. Being treated harshly and then suddenly with kindness might feel like an emotional roller coaster, but it's a deliberate manipulation strategy. The good cop, bad cop technique relies on this very alternation. For example, a partner might harshly criticize you until you feel guilty, and then surprise you with compliments that make you feel loved and special. This emotional contrast confuses the victim and pushes them to seek approval at any cost. Technique 6, fear appeal. Fear is one of the most powerful tools for influencing people. Manipulators know this well and use it to create alarm and push you into making quick decisions. For example, an advertisement might say, "If you don't buy this insurance, you could lose everything." Even if you rationally know the risk is minimal, fear drives you to buy impulsively. This technique is so effective because fear triggers strong emotional responses that override reason, reducing your ability to reflect and consider alternatives. Technique 7, anchoring. The first impression you get from someone can strongly influence how you perceive them afterward. If a guy introduces himself with confidence, people tend to see him as competent and reliable, even without really knowing him. That initial image becomes a reference point, and everything he says or does later is interpreted through that sense of confidence. This same dynamic can be used in more subtle ways too, by giving you an arbitrary piece of information up front to steer your decisions. That's why a product first shown at $500 and then discounted to $300 feels like a bargain, while the exact same item offered at $300 right away wouldn't create the same excitement. Technique 8, sarcastic jokes. Unlike normal teasing among friends, these jokes are sharp and designed to make you look ridiculous in front of others. When you try to defend yourself, the manipulator brushes it off by saying, "It was just a joke," which minimizes the issue and making you seem overly sensitive. Each time you're the target, you might start second-guessing your decisions, your opinions, or even your sense of humor. Recognizing when humor is being used as a tool to control you is the first step. By paying attention to patterns, especially when it seems designed to embarrass you, you can start to protect yourself and maintain your confidence in everyday situations. Technique 9. Flattery. Sometimes people make you feel special just to get something from you. Phrases like, "Only someone as smart as you could understand me," or "You're the only one who could see things the way I do," make you feel appreciated. So without realizing it, you become more likely to agree with their ideas or request. To figure out whether it's a genuine compliment or a manipulation tactic, pay attention to the context and frequency of the compliments. If the compliments always come right before a request, or they seem way too exaggerated for the situation, it's likely that the person is trying to influence you. Technique 10. Gaslighting. Gaslighting is a sneaky form of manipulation where someone makes you doubt your own perception of reality. Usually, gaslighting happens in 3 stages. In the first stage, the manipulator starts twisting your words to confuse you, using phrases like, "I never said that," "You're making things up," or "That never happened." In the second stage, you try to set the record straight and explain that what they said isn't true. By the third stage, self-doubt takes over, and you begin to question your own memory and even start believing the manipulator's version of reality. So how can you tell if someone is really trying to manipulate you with gaslighting? There are some warning signs to watch for, like denying obvious facts, telling constant lies, using silent treatments to make you feel guilty, and diverting the conversation. These tricks I showed you are everywhere, from ads to school to relationships. But once you can recognize them, it becomes much harder for anyone to push you into decisions you don't really want to make. Thanks for your support, and I'll see you next time.